So, good morning. My name is Paris Muigai, and I'm a trainer as well as a capacity development and institutional development expert. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about communication skills. I believe that every individual, every organization, every institution thrives on how we communicate. Without effective communication skills, we end up having a lot of complications in an organization, a lot of misunderstanding. So what do we talk about when we're talking about communication skills? I think it begins with you as an individual. What are your confidence levels? How do you feel most comfortable communicating? Who are your audience, and how are you going to communicate the idea or the thought that you have to them? Let's start with your audience. Are you talking to kindergarten children? Are you talking to high school students? Are you talking to corporates? Are you talking at the community level? If you're talking to kindergarten children, then that means you may have to adjust your communication skills to their level. Do you kneel down? Do you play around with them? But then if you're talking to a corporate, then what does that mean? All the way from your dress to how you present yourself to the language you use. You need to do some background study. If they're in finance, you need to get your financial terms correct. If they're in education, you need to understand the core idea of what it is you're presenting. Why do most of us struggle with communication skills? Why do most of us struggle with public speaking? Because we do not do our background research, because sometimes we don't practice. I think it's very important for all of us to learn how to stand in front of a mirror and smile a little bit and repeat to yourself as part of practicing how to effectively communicate. Just 3 key points that I want us to look at in communication skills. Sometimes I've found that in communication skills, you may have a planned out script, you may have thought through everything, and then you get there and find that your audience is not what you expected. So you are preparing for an audience that is fun and easygoing, and then you get there and actually realize that your audience is a bit more serious and they want you to look very formal. It's very imperative as a communicator that you're able to adjust yourself very quickly to the situation. You're able to adjust yourself very quickly to your audience so that you're able to deliver effectively and you're able to communicate your core aspects of what you're saying in a fun, but at the same time, effective way. Let me give you an example. I have worked with communities all over Africa, from disaster areas such as Congo to Kenya, and sometimes what happens when you're communicating at that level is that what you're saying can get lost. I'm speaking in English right now, and sometimes I have a French translator who needs to translate whatever I'm saying into French and tell it to that person, or translate it to Luya in Kikuyu and communicate to that person. If I notice the facial expressions of the person who I'm talking to, they may give you, like for example, someone might look confused. What do? Do you keep going, or do you actually stop and say that, look, I don't think this person understood what I'm saying, and readjust your language? You actually stop. That's the first thing. Adjust to your audience. Find out what kind of audience am I dealing with. Today we are at Zydii. It's a fun place. There's a lot of energy. You walk in, and right in there, actually when I walked in, I was like, oh, I'm overdressed. And then I was like, wait, I have a corporate meeting later. But you see, you adjust to your audience based on where you are and the environment you are in. The second thing that I want us to look at critically in communication skills is, who are you? How do you communicate? How do you dress? What do you enjoy communicating? If you're a humorous communicator, incorporate some humor into what you say. I don't tend to have a lot of humor. I do accidentally get to it. But if you're a humorous communicator, use that, leverage on that. If you're one who uses stories, get stories out of that. If you're talking to children and you use a lot of stories, communicate through stories. I like our African culture because for many, many years, we communicated through stories. We need to get to a point that you understand yourself. What kind of communicator are you? How comfortable are you? Which audience are you most comfortable with? Leaders across the country, the best communicators. Obama just left leadership, and he was, I think, amongst one of the most interesting orators you could listen to. He would listen to his audience, and he knew himself. He knew what he wanted. He knew what he represented. It's very important you sit down and take note of who am I and how do I communicate. If you like dressing up in, I find sometimes that communicators are told, dress in this way, do this. But if you're most comfortable in a pair of jeans, look at Steve Jobs. He would stand in front of audiences with his pair of jeans and communicate. Do what you feel fits you within that context. So the third and final thing that we are going to look at for effective communication is you must be widely versed with what is going on. You cannot communicate to any audience without understanding what is going on within their circles. If you're communicating to the youth, you need to understand what kind of music is happening, what's the latest in fashion, what's happening in the blogs, what's going on in their space. If you're talking to corporates doing HIV education work or doing finance or doing entrepreneurship, you need to know when is the next World Economic Forum, when is the next conference on this and this and that. Because if you do not have adequate content, if you do not have the right content for your audience, they will switch you off. So, we cannot cover everything for communication in 5 minutes, but I hope this gives you a brief snippet on what 1 or 2, 3 things which you can start looking at and developing in yourself. My name is Zydii Mwigai Paris. I wish you all the best as you work on enhancing your communication skills. God bless you.